Hey, welcome to On the Chain. You're here with the Roundtable. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. We've got a great guest with us tonight. You guys know her. This is Crypto Eddie. How are you? And we're really excited to have you on the show again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure, as always.
Fantastic. So we've got a great show tonight. We're going to talk about XRP. We're going to talk about what's going on globally when it comes to Ripple and XRP, and it's all getting ready to start right now.
And now, the Roundtable with Jeff and Chip on the chain.
Whoa, welcome back. So this is awesome. You know, we always love having you on the show. We always leave here that much smarter after we've had you here and got to discuss and kind of dig into things. And I know the audience has been fired up to hear from you here on the Roundtable as well. So again, welcome to the Roundtable.
Yeah, happy 4th of July.
Thank you.
Happy 4th.
Thank you.
I got my
too.
flag shirt on.
Nice. Look at that. Look at that. I should have worn a flag shirt.
Got my flag shirt. Well, I have a couple of them.
Although I did go out today. I went to the party store and I bought a whole bunch of things. So we got the flag plates and all the flag displays and the everything, all the glow in the dark stuff too.
So you have finished your 4th, right? So did you have a party?
No, just us, just the family.
I mean, family party.
Yeah. So, but this is great. So what are we going to talk about, Chip?
I think I'm going to go with XRP. You know why? We love it. It's our greatest fun little stable coin. Not so stable these days, but I thought we would just sort of, you've been putting
on the downside.
Yeah, I thought we would start with, you've been putting on these amazing videos. You've really been, I think it's been a breath of fresh air for the community. I kind of well, let's unpack a bunch of different stuff there. But I think, some of the stuff you focused on were really use cases for XRP. And so some of the stuff, I guess, want to get your take on based on what we've seen that's behind us, right? At this juncture, we're 6 months into 2020, going into the 7th month. And we have the back 2020. What kind of trends, or what do you think is going to happen when we talk about use case and some companies out there, partners of Ripple, that really kind of excite you?
Well, there's a lot going on. I think recently too, I have really narrowed my focus into what I've been talking about, and I've been really in on the use case for XRP and what's going to make XRP successful. I think all that other stuff right now for the XRP holders, including myself, is just noise. And so I've really made a very conscious effort to find and look and report on things that are going to actually have an impact on supply. That's really basically it. I need to see an impact on supply, and that impact on supply comes from use case. Because if we get that impact on supply, it's going to eventually have an impact on demand, which eventually brings us to a point where we can see some price movement. So that's what I've been focusing on. And there's a lot going on. I think that for those people who are only looking at price but not seeing what's going on the outside for movement in terms of progression with partners and with all of this preparation that's especially being done in Asia, I think they just are going to find themselves surprised when everything gets turned on to a point where all of the work is finally the gates are going to open, and the gates are going to open, especially here in Asia. And when I mean Asia, I mean everywhere from as north of in Korea, South Korea, and Japan, all the way down to Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Yeah.
And for many people joining right now, they may not know this, but you are coming to us from Tokyo, Japan.
I am. So, and I spend a lot of time looking at the news that's coming out in Japanese, and there's a lot of really good coverage, of course, that happens here that never ever makes it over to the West, or if it does, it makes it over late, and it sometimes isn't in the detail that I get here in Japan.
Yeah, so here's what's interesting. I think we have more and more new people coming into the space. We're starting to see them. I know comments, people joining in on the live streams that we've had on the premieres when we do the roundtable. We're seeing more and more people, even on the short videos. Are you seeing that as well? Are you seeing more new people engaging in this space?
Yeah, and I can tell that they're new from the questions that I get in the comments. So I can tell that they are still trying to figure out the how, what value proposition XRP brings to the space. Yeah, and there's still a fair amount of people who are still hanging in there after 2 years, and yeah, but my subscriptions are growing, so yeah, that definitely tells me that I'm getting anywhere from 1,400 to 2,200 new people a month. So that is a fair amount of, I think, new people into XRP.
Right, and they could be
Maybe
in
not
blockchain and crypto
Yeah,
already.
yeah, maybe not new in the space, but probably 50% of them are in the space, but starting to pay attention because, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize there's a lot going on if you pay attention to some of the aggregated news sites like Crypto Panic, and you see Ripple in the news every day. Every day there's something. So I think people are starting to pay attention. And then the other 50% are people who are absolutely new to the space because of lots of reasons. One is the current economic slowdown has brought people at home, and they've been able to spend time on researching. And also, I think the economic uncertainty has people a little bit more aware to diversify their portfolio and possibly hedge against some of the other investments that they have.
Yeah, that's interesting. And as we have these new people come in, and we were talking a little bit about this, before we started recording, they're going to come in looking for details, looking for information. And it's interesting. So we're going to have people either, like you said, looking to hedge. They're looking to diversify. They're looking for all these things, but there's a chance that they're also going to stumble on, the YouTube videos that are going to tell people, hey, this is going to blow up, before 2020, or, there's some negativity in the space. There's, too much hype in the space. To me, this has always been, like a 5-year minimum investment, especially as we know that, we're building out in the financial space, the banking space. Nothing in that world happens overnight. Even the boom with Bitcoin, didn't happen overnight. The boom with XRP, and I'm talking about 2017, it didn't happen overnight because we're talking about, 5 to 7 years of development, of ups and downs, throughout the space. Then all of a sudden we saw a little bit of identification, a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of excitement in the space, a little bit of, expectation of utility in the space. And then we saw things getting pushed up. But now, there's always been this expectation that, the 589 and this whole, kind of mentality that there's going to be a switch turned down, and tomorrow it's going to be, you're going to wake up in the morning, it's going to be 589. And, I've
You mean it's not, Jeff? Are you saying it's not?
Unfortunately, I've never been a believer that it's going to happen overnight. However, what we did see is that we saw the ramp up going into 17. We saw what FOMO did kind of overnight, happened over a couple month period, where we started seeing that ramp up, and it just started going parabolic. Then it hit that peak and went off the other side of it, and it kind of was a downward spiral since. But we're starting to see that trend back where you're establishing that solid base. But that's what is interesting. I mean, what kind of feedback, advice from everything that you've seen out there now would you give to somebody brand new in the space?
Well, there's more adoption than ever. So this is something that everybody is always, the mantra from the exchanges and from people who are trying to execute on their use case, they're always talking about adoption. I think the adoption is closer. I think also too, the people who have, where blockchain was very blurry a year ago or 2 years ago, I think blockchain is not so blurry anymore. People are really understanding the value of blockchain, whether you're using it in a supply chain like VeChain is doing, or if you are using it in sort of a recording of record that can't be changed, so that you can have this immutable record, which is really, really important in many parts of the world, especially when it comes to land ownership. And then you've got, of course, how blockchain is being adopted in the fintech area, because it is really, it's probably right now, which is what XRP is focusing on, it is probably the quickest to have seen adoption in the last few years is within the fintech space. So I'm seeing that adoption is getting better. I think the whole space in general is quite educated as compared to 12 months ago or 24 months ago. I mean, I see everybody's leveling up their education, and that's really nice to see. The media is still not getting it correct, and sometimes still is. There's a lot of room for improvement with media, because the articles that are being written are not always, it's one of my pet peeves, they're not always up to the quality that I wish they were, although I think they're getting better. And yeah, there's just so much going on in the space. The on-ramps are getting more frictionless, and the accepting of the digitization for our world, whether it's through tokenized assets or for the coming of the digital dollars or the CBDCs. Yeah, I mean, gosh, that's just a huge question, because we've come so far in the last like 18 months. So far. Yeah, so far.
Yeah. So let's say, Ashish Burley dropped this article that seemed to have a pretty solid impact in the community. Basically talked about the strategy of on-demand liquidity, or ODL. And so, I saw a lot of people race off, a lot of negativity, but I saw it kind of come around as well. So a lot of the conversations have been about, oh no, there's a change, and they've changed their strategy so much, and they're not doing, so they came out and said they're not doing these large treasury payments, and then everyone had assumptions about what those were, and those were coming from maybe a particular company. But what do you see as far as Ripple changing a little bit of, I guess, direction, but what do you see that? I mean, and what positives really come out of that when they all of a sudden stop? Because I think the big thing, let's get down to it, was the volume, right? The volume was like, it kept going up. We had that one story where it went up 300% from last quarter, and then, oh my gosh, so what's it going to do this quarter? And all of a sudden the volumes went. So a lot of people looked at volumes versus and the strategy and saying, okay, it's not working. Made an assumption. What was really going on there?
Well, look, ODL and the on-demand liquidity, XRP, the digital asset, was always designed for the low value, high frequency payments. That was what it was originally designed for. I think Ripple was trying, obviously, not I think, they were trying something a little different in a more of a high volume transactions. And I think that it was probably with one entity, not multiple entities, maybe a couple, but I think it was one. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think it was MoneyGram. I know a lot of people think it was MoneyGram, but I don't think it was MoneyGram. I think MoneyGram, if you look at their business model, they are a P2P. They are low volume payments provider. So someone might say to me, oh, no, Eddie, they were aggregating all of their, they were batching their payments and running all of them through at one time. And I'm, I don't know, just because they said that they were going to use Ripple as their back treasury, the word treasury is in there, but the word treasury is used for the backside of the money. It's so just because the word treasury is in there and MoneyGram was going to use Ripple for their treasury, that's not a definite connection. So I think it was probably a partner that we probably know about, but we just don't know who. So whether it was Santander, or could be Bank of America, could be someone was running some big corporate treasury payments through. And I think they saw, wow, this is good, but this isn't really what we had in mind. This is what it wasn't designed for this. And we're putting a lot of emphasis on just one partner, when you've got the SMEs out there and the P2Ps, which are millions of potential customers. And when you look at diversifying your customer base, you don't want to be in a position where 80% of your income is coming from one customer, and then you kind of lost focus on the other 20%, which actually represent more of the customer base. So when I look at Ashish and what he wrote, he specifically said that they are going to go back to their original. So they haven't pivoted. They haven't changed strategy. They actually are just going back to what they were originally going to do. And you could say that they tried something, which is great. I want to see a company that tries something, but it wasn't working for them. And that's, in my opinion, okay, because when I look at the strategy of going after the P2Ps, whether it's with the Visa and the MasterCard, the P2P, those low value payments are $1 to $5,000. And you've got a tremendous, an enormous amount of that payments pie is wrapped up in that range of payment. And so you've got the P2Ps, which is the peer-to-peer, the person-to-person, like MoneyGram does. And then you've also have the e-commerce sites, which is the P2B. All right? That's a huge chunk of the pie. And if you read what Swift says, they are best known for their cross-border remittances in the high value. So why would you want to go after that same behemoth when you've got this other sector of payments that nobody is actually the person who's really getting it done right now is TransferWise, MoneyGram, RIA, and Western Union, and RIA and MoneyGram are Ripple partners. So to me it makes a lot of sense. And the SMEs are very exciting because they are not being served. They're underserved in this space. For a small business or medium-sized business in the UK to move money with a bank is like 6%. That's just too much money. And so when you look at the opportunities, which in Japan, 97% of the businesses come from SMEs, 97%. So why would you? Yeah, this was a documentation that I brought to my video yesterday. So this mirrors itself in every country all over. Small business and medium-sized business drives the economy. So why would you not focus on a sector that is underserved? It needs to have a less friction in their payments. And then when you nurture those payment service providers or the payment service transmitters out there, which Ripple does, and you provide them the best tools and the digital asset XRP with a growing and absolutely coming liquidity, because look what was just done with SBI when they invested in the B2C2. That liquidity is coming. That's a big hurdle. And this is not all about just this is an ecosystem that requires a lot of parts to be put together. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's being put together. We're seeing a lot of progress, and I think that we're very, very close to see some breakout in some parts of the country. One in particular is Asia, and one of the main reasons is because of SBI, who is just on fire, making mergers, acquisitions, and investments to have his say, his power, his ability to make all those pieces fit together to get it done. He's getting it done. He's really getting it done. You tell me where he's not getting it done, and I think that you've missed the news.
Yeah, that's really impressive. When we start looking at this from that perspective, I think where some people might have some concern in terms of the major shift is that the primary focus of Ripple with the RippleNet product was to target the banking space and to target the large, cross-border remittance payments. And so if that was their primary objective, and really when we looked at, the development of the Ripple platform, it was broken down into 3 components originally, right? And their primary component that they rolled out with RippleNet was pretty much, focused on the messaging component, making a better Swift, right? And that was number 1. Number 2 was then to roll out the liquidity aspect of it, which was really the game changer in that space. Because if you're going to try to compete against Swift with another messaging app, it's going to be really, really difficult to get banks to come over. And I think that's one of the resistance points that they saw, was that banks, if you look at Swift as a whole, there's a lot of banks that have membership and, they're part of the overall conglomerate of Swift. So trying to recruit that element is going to be a little bit difficult. But then when you interject and you say, well, we also have ODL, and you no longer have to have these Nostro and Vostro accounts, you can save a huge amount of money this way, and we're going to establish this through exchanges and do all these different things. I think that excited a lot of people, but you can look pros and cons of it, because you're bringing up some really, really, valid and important points in the space at large, in terms of, the global remittance economy, where the banks make up a big part of it, moving huge amounts of money. But then there's this whole other component that's taken up. But there's also a lot of people in the space from a legacy perspective, right? You have the PayPals of the world. You have MoneyGram, you have Western Union. So you have a lot of those types of organizations that are already doing it. And so now you're moving from the banking space and you're moving over. How is that going to look? I mean, are they dropping the bank spot, or are they saying, hey, the bank is probably going to take a lot longer to build out, so let's go to the consumer driven market? Is probably there's a lot less hurdle to overcome, than in the banking space, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the banks are definitely, they could benefit from getting rid of those hundreds. Some of those banks have thousands of Nostro accounts with money parked. But the banking system is very, very conservative. It's very stuck in its ways. It's been doing the same methodology for years and years and years and years. And they have those people in place, and they don't want to disrupt their own personal space. I mean, how it is. You settle into that kind of job, and you've got this structure that has been doing the same thing, even though the structure isn't efficient, but that's how you've been doing it. And to disrupt your own personal space is not something you really raise your hand and say, okay, we want to really change, because change is not easy for people. So the banks were definitely the target in the beginning. But thank goodness Ripple saw that this is going to take a lot longer than we anticipated. And I don't see it as a negative at all if they can, because also a lot has changed since they decided to go after the banks. Look at the boom in the neobanks, the challengers, the digitization, the banking licenses that are coming out of these countries that never gave transmitter license before. I mean, if you read like Singapore, they would have people wait 2 years through an application process. And then maybe if you were lucky, you'd be 3 of like 50 that got approved. But that is totally changing. Every country now is giving out these transmitter license, and it's possible now for this new sector to blossom and grow. And it has blossomed and grown like crazy in the last 12 months. So why wouldn't you go and serve those people who have also themselves gone after the SMEs, which, remember, the banks are not serving them properly. So this isn't like a stagnant space that hasn't changed in the last 12 months or 18 months. This is a space that's very fluid and very, very much progressing at lightning speed. But the banks are still stuck in their old ways. So I'm telling you, everyone should be very happy that Ripple has made a big refocus back to where the market is growing and where the market is needing them. Because if you're just trying to think about how you look, oh yeah, well, we're working with the 1,000 largest banks in the world. I mean, if that's really what you're more focused on, and you're embarrassed to say that you're helping some third floor Philippine money transmitter in Manila, but actually pumping a lot of pesos through that third floor on the back street in Manila. I'm sorry. I'm going to go where the money is. And I don't need to have that. Well, I have Bank of America as my customer. It's great. I'm happy that they have Bank of America as a customer. But if it comes down to ODL, take me to who's moving the money and take me to who you can use ODL. That's in countries that have the regulation in place, and just go. And I think that's what they're doing now. I really think I got Momo behind me. Sorry. She's sleeping and she leans up against my computer.
That's your cat, right? One of your cats?
Yeah, one of four. Yeah.
But what are the maxis, the maximalists, the Bitcoin maximalists going to say that when they go like, oh, it's just a banker's coin? Oh no, contraire, not anymore. It's like there are so many opportunities, right, that are filling the space.
Yeah, it's okay. You know, that banker's coin narrative is coming less and less because I'm really hoping that BTC doesn't fail, because BTC is one that we're so correlated to. But that.
Wait a minute. Wait. Whoa. Let's put the brakes on there. That's like a big statement. Just like boom. So when you say it doesn't fail, I've heard rumblings from people in the space. Little things that people have been saying, and it's kind of weird. It's not like people are talking about that. Some people are kind of reallocating. You know, even when David Schwartz came out and said, "Hey, you know what? I have been moving some money out of there, but you know, I'm doing risk management or something to that effect." But what
I mean by fail is we have to see the asset managers come into the space, and we haven't seen that yet. And that's not coming from me. That's coming from the three largest money market makers that were on a panel, and they said that they have not come into the space. They're still on the sidelines, and they want to see some proven use cases, and they'll come in if we see some proven use cases. Oh, Momo, but you know, those big asset managers are the people who are doing the big wealth funds for pensions and for insurance. Mm-hmm. The BlackRocks, which is on the top, on down to a list of about 100, and they have not come in. I mean, you see a few, like Fidelity is getting their feet wet, and Vanguard is getting their feet wet. I mean, there's a few, but not really enough. And those three market makers, which one of them was B2C2 and Tagami, and third one is Bitstamp, okay, who's an ODL. They said that is when we're going to see price movement. Mm-hmm. That is the money that needs to come into the space. So the reason why I say I hope BTC doesn't fail is because I hope BTC is going well enough that eventually that money comes in. Because then we're going to see the market cap of the whole entire space get up to 2 trillion, 3 trillion, 4 trillion, where we have then the possibility to reach those numbers within the altcoins as well as BTC. Otherwise, as they said, there's no new money in the last year. There is no new money. It's all the same kind of money that's circulating, coming in, coming out in their trading, you know. So we need to see a lot of new money come into this space. So that's what I say. I hope
and quickly, and
That's
quickly
a great.
too.
That's a really good point. And once we do get to that level, you know, whether it's through Bitcoin or whatever it's going to be, and that's Main Street. You know, once Main Street is able to invest, and they have to be able to invest securely. You know, so until those big entities get in and allow you to buy, you go to your E-Trade account and you can invest in XRP and Bitcoin and whatever. Until that happens, Main Street is going to keep dragging their feet, you know, getting involved, or until Coinbase or Uphold or Gemini, one of those three, grows up a little bit more, which they're making some big momentum. They are growing up to where you can go onto a Coinbase and feel relatively secure that you have a very similar experience as you would with,
right.
You know, with an E-Trade. Again, you know, where you go on, you buy your stuff, it's there. You don't have to worry about really securing your own keys, you know, even when it's on a Coinbase, because if you lose your login, you know, you can gain your access to your account again. That's the Main Street security that's required. But when it's really going to blossom is when you get these bigger guys getting in. Now, that could happen through acquisitions. Maybe they look at a Coinbase and say, let's acquire. Maybe Coinbase looks at one of these others and they acquire, you know, whatever it might be, however that looks. That's going to, you're right. I mean, 100% that's the tipping point. But to build the excitement is to really capture additional market share in the space, and to a point where people understand it. You know, if people understand, right, Ripple is being used in a consumer-based application, and people are touching it, and then you see powered by Ripple, and they're like, oh, I wonder what powered by Ripple is. Let me look into this. But I know I moved my money. I paid this business. I just paid them. I didn't pay them in digital asset. I used my credit card or whatever, you know, but somehow the money moved. Why is it powered by Ripple? What does that even mean?
Yeah. Well, the institutional custody, people would say, once we get institutional custody, it's going to just take off. We got institutional custody. It has still remained pretty much sideways. When we talk about the narrative, I want to go back to the narrative where we don't really hear that banker's point anymore. And the reason why, and I went way outside to get to that point, is that Bitcoin has been totally hijacked by banks. So they can't say that anymore because they are reliant on the whole traditional system to bring that money into the space. I mean, sorry, but the retail investors that were in early, that pretty much got to the ceiling, you know. So I think that they realize they are as attached to the banking system, the traditional banking system, as Ripple is. I don't think anybody could say they're not. So that narrative that says that this is a, you know, a currency that is free of regulation and can be used without anybody taking it away from me. Well, you still have to get the on-ramps and the off-ramps, and the market is being manipulated with the whales, and there are big investors that have a lot of OTC power. And yeah, so I don't think they can say that anymore. They just can't say that anymore. The only people that can probably say that are the people who are hardcore, like Monero people. Yeah, which I'm a big Monero fan. But I also realize that XRP is providing a real solution to a real problem. And I think that's what those guys on the panel were saying, is that they need to see a play out of more proof that the assets that really are solving a problem, like VeChain. VeChain is really solving a problem. Tezos is really solving a problem. There are a few out there, just like in the .com era, there were 1,000 startups that had the .com name, and maybe only 12 to 15 of them are still operating and working today. We're going to see that same play out in this space. Of the 1,000 projects that are still considered live, you're probably only going to see about 25 of them still doing well. And I mean healthy, growing, really doing well 3 years from now. We're going to have a lot just sayonara, adios, bye-bye.
Yeah,
we're
Brad
starting to see
Garlinghouse.
some of that.
I'll say Brad Garlinghouse called that too. He's like, 1%, maybe, maybe even that. I think we're like the almost 5,000 type of projects out there.
So many of them, though, are dead.
Yeah, they're just dead. They're going nowhere. And, you have these fake pumps where it looks like there's like something happening and people get excited, they get in, like you said, the manipulation is still a big part of this.
That pumping business, it happens in the traditional market with penny stocks. It's okay if you want to have a little fun and have a little, I think that's always going to be there for the people who really just are playing that game. That's okay. But that's where the dumb money goes. And I'm not saying that this isn't my term, but that's what it's called. But for the smart money to come into this space, they're going to only put their money into projects that are proven. And according to those guys on the panel, the market makers, they don't see it yet. They did mention Algorand. They said Algorand was considered within the institutional investors as a proven project. So that was June 2019. Ripple has made a lot of progress since June 2019. I mean, a lot of progress in the last 12 months. I would say that if you got those three together on a panel again, they probably would speak differently to the use case. But we need to see a lot more than just 3 or 4 or 5 corridors go live. I mean, we need to see 30 or 50 liquid corridors to where finally people are going to say, wow, that's really working. So, and I think that here in Asia, you're going to see at least a dozen of those 30. A dozen of them are going to come from the region that I talked about, from Japan, South Korea, down to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, a kind of a sidetrack to this, because I think it's going to factor in to all of our conversations eventually, which have to do with the CBDCs, and then you've got, a lot of discussion now on the digital dollar, but let's focus more on China, because China has a big, is trying to have a big impact on the region. We know we had the Belt and Road Initiative. That was a slow rollout, and now they're rolling out even quicker, trying to bring their digital currency to light. But they're also looking at rolling that out to really manipulate or have more of a control element within this region when it comes to remittance payments and more. But there's a lot of concern with that. Especially seeing what they're doing right now over in Hong Kong. So where do we, where does all this kind of go? Because we have amazing things that are going on over here. We've got a counterbalance to it potentially with China. They could, impact that, all the great growth right now in the region. Time will tell what happens in Hong Kong. Could be we're going to see, people fleeing in mass numbers to other countries in Asia. I don't know, as they clamp down on freedoms over there.
Hop over to Singapore. Yeah.
Do you see that same thing?
It's already happening. Yeah, it's already happening. There's a lot of movement over to Singapore. Yeah, I know that there are some people who think that the United States is not asleep at the wheel, or that and it's not that they're asleep at the wheel, but the system is so not working right now for getting the job done that needs to get done. China is not going to use anything that the United States controls. and they're not going to. They'll play with the global economy, but if it's not good for China, they're not going to play. So, and I think that they will move faster than the United States when it comes to actually utilizing their digitized renminbi. Japan just announced on the 2nd that they are going into a demonstrative test phase, and that is basically in preparation to be ready. That's their words. They don't want to fall behind. That's their words. So they'll do that really quick. They're going to require some requirements, like it needs to work in a power outage. It has to be children friendly. So they don't want to do it on a smartphone, because children are not able to use a smartphone, and the elderly also don't have smartphones, not because economically they're expensive, and some people are in the older generation are sticking to their flip phones. So they have some requirements, and it looks like they're not going to just go wholesale CBDC, but they're going to go wholesale retail. So they want to make sure that it works for the everyday citizen. They're going to get it done, and then they're not going to release it. They're going to just sit back, wait, be ready, be prepared, so that when everyone in the world decides to go to their digitized fiat, they'll be ready. But I don't see United States making that move yet. And everyone says, and I know that the United States can move on a dime when it wants to. It can. Right? I've seen it. I've been around long enough to know that it can happen. But right now, I just see a whole lot of talk. I don't see anything getting done.
Lots of talk, lots of this bill, that bill, all these bills, they go nowhere. The digital dollar, nowhere. Let's segue a little bit. I want to talk about what did you think when Ripple dropped that PayID, on us? Like, it just kind of seemed like, bam, the PayID. Like, what are your thoughts about PayID? Do you see that as being, because I know there's other people like Unstoppable Domain, there's other people out there that were trying to solve this whole problem of, I don't want to have a number that's this long. I'd rather have some other way. In the States we have Zelle, and which is very similar to how PayID works in Australia, which is between the banks have an agreement that I could send it via a phone number or an email, and that's the one way it could get to you. But that's had its issues here. I tried to pay a contractor one time. He's like, I'm sure it's my email. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure it's my email. Turned out it was his phone number. So it's like, he didn't, and then the payment was like stuck in the ethers. Like, it was just like bouncing around somewhere for a week. You didn't get your money back for a while. What do you think about PayID? Do you think that's something it's going to really catch on as far as a payment pointer?
Well, you got to try, right? Yeah. You got to throw up as much stuff as you can to see what sticks. There needs to be a lot of people to come over and get into the support of that, and they're just started. And if I keep seeing that list of people who are getting involved grow on a critical mass basis, I think it's got a shot. I think that everybody who's in this space who wants to see that happen should get a PayID. I mean, to sit back and just not participate, is kind of that apathy really can drive me crazy. People are sitting there at home on Twitter and on the comments shooting off all this negative, but they're not even participating in the ecosystem.
That's
so I think that everybody needs to participate, which means go find a place, whether you host it on GitHub yourself, or you go to BitTrue, or you go to BitHump, or I don't know who else is offering the PayIDs, but you should be one of the first people to go and get your own PayID address. And then it's going to take a lot more people, of course, involved, and I'm talking about big players. But if Ripple's quite networked, and the people that they got initially in that list is pretty networked. And so should they be able to keep pushing the initiative, and people keep, if it does, it's not hard to get involved, so it doesn't take a lot to be part of that ecosystem. I think it's a good thing, but I think it's a long shot. It's a Hail Mary pass.
Well, do you think it was kind of interesting that, when I look at, like, it's similar to email, right? So you have the person or name, you know, the @ symbol, which we send an email to somebody with the domain names.
$1.
So that was what I wanted to ask you about. I think that I don't like that move. I don't like it.
That was a mistake. That was a mistake. I'm really surprised. I was really surprised over that. I mean, and I know Ripple is the one that registered the name. That's okay. I mean, somebody's got to step forward and do that initial registry of trademarking the name or what have you, and designing the logos and all that, which, by the way, was Hannah Kelly in the Ripple team. She was the same one who did the XRapid and all of those different logos, and she actually did the swell design.
Yeah, I saw that video. That was a really good video you did. That went on the
super
dribble.
Talented. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I wish they hadn't used the $sign. That is a no-no for people who are not in the United States.
Right. It's like I get it. It's American and stuff, and you go, okay. So if you look on that top, you know, all those characters above your number, so you start thinking about what would have worked, right? I mean, what an asterisk.
Whole new symbol. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, you got to have it in
symbol
your
would you
keyboard.
use? Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, the dollar makes the most sense
Ampersand?
because it's representative of money, you know. But what else could you use?
But no,
the
it's not.
@ taken, the hashtag. I know in the coding sense, it's not. Could you use the hashtag? That's kind of taken.
The ampersand. It's like,
ampersand.
You know, this and it seems like a better. I don't know.
Maybe.
I thought they just limited it so much. It's like it's once again showing something, because you think about the $sign. It's like, you know what? That's great, but I mean, what if they would have chose the pound? You know, what if they symbol? What if they would have chose the euro symbol?
We don't have that on our keyboard.
I know, but that's that's my whole point. It's like, well, who has the $sign necessarily on their keyboard if you're somewhere else, you know?
And that was the question we were asking. We were talking to Ferdy about that. We asked him, well, what's on your keyboard?
Yeah, and he said it was on. He goes, oh, it's on there.
So Eddie, do you have is that on yours?
I have a operating system where I can go back and forth from Japanese to English. Yeah.
What's on your 4 key?
What do I hit?
What's on your number 4? What do you have above the number 4 on your 4?
My number 4 is a $sign.
There we go.
Because my keyboard is set up like it has in the US. Yeah.
Maybe an exclamation point. Bang. You know, you call it a bang in coding.
Or a question mark.
My opinion is that was a huge mistake. It's like it's just everyone doesn't realize that the dominance that the United States has and the way that it carries itself among the smaller countries is not always looked upon as being very friendly.
Too late now.
I think was a bad choice.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a great one too. It's like, and it's misleading too, and you know, it's also a symbol that's used in coding as well that has a different connotation. I thought it was I thought they should have put a little more effort into doing something a little more universal.
Yes.
You know, like even if you did use the hash, I mean, I'm like that it's, you know, it's already other usage, but people that understand the symbol but might not necessarily, because you put the $, and then also there's that really weird thing. It's like, oh, Eddie, just send it to Chip at. Oh, wait, no, send it to Chip $. Wait, $or $sign? Send it to Chip $sign on the chain.io. It's like Chip $, on the chain. Like, I don't even know how to say it. Like,
I like the asterisk.
Yeah.
Asterisk would have been nice. Or the ampersand.
People say, well, where is that? That's over above the 8 key.
But you could have done it like Chip Amp. I'll send it to Eddie Amp. Mm-hmm. You know, cryptoeddie.com, you know, AMP, you know, it's like something cool, AMP. What's up, AMP?
But everybody has an asterisk.
Everybody does. The asterisk would have been nice, except it's not centered. It's kind of like up here sometimes. So
that's okay.
Not a bad thing. So, you know, the other thing I was going to ask you about, you know, it's interesting to watch some of the people from Ripple. You know, I watched this last Ripple drop, and to me, it just wasn't their best. It was a long Ripple drop. I kind of like this, you know, and so I sort of myself, it didn't resonate with me. I thought like I really tried to hang on there. I was like putting toothpicks in my eyes, and I was trying. I wasn't really geared towards people in the space because a lot of it was reiterating stuff. It was good for probably new people. But when I watched that, and also did you see the one where Brad Garlinghouse did the all hands on deck where they made that a, what did you think about that? Because I didn't see Brad at his best, and I didn't
No,
see
it's
him, you know, he didn't seem to be on his game like I'm used to seeing him. And I know it's weird when you're not used to doing this and you're talking to your computer by yourself. It's weird, right?
Well, it was edited. Somebody edited it. If you noticed, it wasn't just a
No, but yes, it was edited. They put some stuff, you know, they
but it was
positioned
even
some.
he was lacking a little bit of his normal
He's always
exuberance.
on. Yeah, it was his.
He
yeah.
didn't seem like he was on. It might have been an off day when he recorded it, but it wasn't
We're
like
used to
his
seeing
best.
him also in a suit and tie. We're used to seeing him that way, and to see him in his casuals, I think just, you know, gives you a different perspective or different impression. So maybe he didn't know that it would eventually go out. Maybe they had to talk him into it. Maybe he thought that was always going to remain internal.
Oh
That
yeah.
was
That could be too, yeah.
yeah, that was done 30 days prior, right? Then
Yeah, it was done before.
so
No, I
maybe
just.
he wasn't up for a global audience because he never really thought that was maybe going to stay internal. And so
Yeah, it
not
wasn't meant for everybody.
yeah, it wasn't meant for us originally to see it. Somebody decided to use it. I don't know who that person is.
They're no longer at Ripple. I will say that. No, I don't know. It's like,
Who's the response? You're fired.
hey, who did
You're
this?
out.
This is our internal messaging. Who's doing this?
You're
That
out.
wasn't.
I saw him at his best, I think, as of late when he was with Ross on stage in Singapore. That was a Brad Garlinghouse I thought was so fun. Remember that one?
Yeah,
Where
that was awesome. Yeah.
that was really good. And also Julia Chatterley has a capability.
She's got a secret man crush on him. I can tell you right now. The way she looks at him when he's giving an answer, she gets those eyes like just like, tell me more, Brad. You know, it's like I mean I goof about it, but it's kind of like she's like, Brad, I want to know more. Tell us everything. And she's like batting her lashes and stuff. And I'm like, man, she's so crushing on him right now. I don't know, maybe it's not, but she is, you know,
She's
'cause
awesome.
I see her a lot. She does a lot of great stuff, but then you see something change in her when she's interviewing Brad Garlinghouse every single time. And he's so on, you know, when he's doing those. Man, the other thing about Brad, have you ever seen him? Like, he's so pro at these interviews. 'Cause sometimes they throw these things at him that he doesn't know what the answers, questions are. Hey, we're going to talk about this and then. I go, hey, so Brad, what do you think about? And he's like, you know, he just, well, bump, 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 and he nails you. Like, man, I don't realize.
With his interview with Pomp, for example, I mean, he was always very much in control, cool, calm, collected, able to answer any problem. Didn't ever seem like he got stuck on anything that was asked of him. No, he's good. He's a perfect kind of, you know, CEO to have on your front man. You know, I think he's great.
Except when he did the one himself. then he was just off.
Come on, man. We got to cut him some break.
You should have had somebody interviewing him. But,
Julia is great. Do you ever go to Julia's Instagram to see her pictures?
No, I actually have not.
It's fun. She doesn't, you know, of course she takes herself seriously because she's very much a professional and she's really good, but she'll post pictures of herself like eating a donut, doing her hair with a curling iron, and with no shoes on yet, you know. It's really cute. I like it.
Yeah, it's always good if you can have a little bit of fun, right? Show a different side of you. Yeah, and so she's always good. I mean, I like her stories in general. She does a lot of good stuff. She's pretty bright. I mean, she knows a lot of stuff. Sometimes she talks about something complicated. She gets it, you know. And like a lot of presenters do not. They sometimes, and especially if they're in Congress, because then they're really missing out. It's like, you know, that they're really one step off.
Always.
The last one at CNBC, she totally glassed over. She didn't get it at all. When Brad was trying to explain PayID to her, she didn't get it. She didn't get it at all. She was, okay, now, you know, she didn't get it.
Yeah, well, you know, it caused a lot of controversy. You know, I did a couple videos on it, and people kept saying, well, we've had this in Australia for years. What is wrong with you stupid people in the United States? And I'm like, yeah, well, it's not. your banking system and sending it there back and forth. I still doubt the settlement even happens. Yeah, it happens on the back end, but we've seen things emerge like MasterCard Send, where if you're in their network, you can send money instantly. Boom, you got the money sent instantly. But are they really settling it? I mean, they're in their network. I mean,
No, I think that's push technology, and they're just going from one account to another account. Yeah, within their ecosystem, within their walled garden.
in their walled garden, exactly. It's like if you want to play in that, yeah, you can
And
do
it's
that.
okay. Yeah, it's easy to do it in your walled garden.
But it's not necessarily like, so a lot of people think that these other solutions come on board and they go like, well, and you talked about it earlier, when you're spending a lot of time in the space and you came out, you've been spending 7, 8 years developing and building, and you realize that as much as you've done, it's still going to take time. And someone says, well, what about if somebody over here, and then they can do it in 1.5 seconds, they can set a payment. Okay, so how does that happen exactly? It can go from 1.5 seconds. You've seen there's other projects out there, and people have said this is way better than XRP because it happens in a nanosecond, in a 1 second, a 1.5 second. But when
they're not understanding that it's not about speed anymore, and that's why I keep also telling people that what differentiates Ripple is way beyond just technology. Technology is a commodity. Technology can be replicated. Technology is not, they don't own anything proprietary. The technology is available for everyone to use. What makes Ripple different is they have the proprietary digital asset that's native within the ecosystem that provides that ability to eliminate all that tied up capital around the world with correspondent banking.
Well, they do have their software, which is proprietary, and there is something to what they do.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that there's no barrier to entry.
No, anybody can do it.
And somebody else can come in and do it. So I don't buy that, that if you just have a technology company, then you're just a SaaS, just a software as a service company, which is okay. There's a lot of companies that Deloitte and Accenture and NTT Data, I mean, they all make a huge business on just being a provider of service. But if you're really wanting to change the world and you really want to make a difference for the banking system, then take all that tied up capital and get those corridors liquid with XRP and watch value move like an email.
And you would think, you would think now is like the time. I mean, we have a lot of talk about the Black Swan event, from an economic perspective. I was a little shocked that the World Economic Forum started talking about the global economic reset. I didn't think that would be something that you would hear on topic, from a forum like that, but now it's in play, in terms of, these individuals that are in that organization are discussing it, and they had to single out Al Gore. Oh, he's but to me, forget about what they want to do, focus on what's real, right now, and the whole, economy, anywhere in the world right now has really been, brought, to the close, not saying to the brink of disaster.
We're on our knees.
Very right. We're on our knees at this point. We're very, very close, and some countries a lot closer than others because they can't withstand. But now, to me, this would be like the opportune moment, because we're even seeing banks that are in that point where they could end up shutting their doors. But now if they reach out and say, well, wait a minute, we've got all this liquidity sitting out here in all these accounts. Why don't we just pull them all back in, and now we'll bring them all back to our account. And now all of a sudden they're a little bit more liquid. But now they say, well, if we do that, we can't function. Well, hey, by the way, you've got this RippleNet software that allows you to make that happen. Then I'm trying to figure out, when we're in this moment, at what point of stress do these banks wake up and realize, one by one, that, hey, you know what? If we want to continue surviving, we have to do this. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's the $1 million question. I think that's what everyone was hoping. But I think in looking again at how quick these banks can move. And that word reset, by the way, I think is being used to turn this negative into a positive. I think they're using it to say, okay, here's our opportune time to actually improve on some of our structure that was not perfect before. So let's reset it so that we can make it better coming out on the other side. I don't buy into that global pre-planned business at all, you know, even though this isn't, in my opinion, still isn't a black swan, the pandemic, because we always knew that this was possible. But what has been a black swan is all of the other things that have occurred because of it, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I'm feeling like maybe like some of the people in Ripple are. I'm sick and tired of waiting for the banks. I've had it. You know, I've really had it with them. So forget it. You know, you guys, you're out of here. See ya. Adios. Bye bye. I don't want to give them any more time. You know, and I'm not going to be Nagabo either. Give me the bank money. No, forget the bank.
Nagabo. I love Nagabo, man.
Yeah. But I know he's zeroed in on show me the bank money. You know what, Naga? Forget it. Just forget them, because we're gonna move where the opportunity is, and that's within these new neobanks, the challenger banks, the payment service providers, and yeah, that's how I feel about it. I'm done. I'm done waiting for them. So
Wow.
I'm personally very happy that Ripple is doing what they're doing, because I can see that this is a much safer bet. It's a much quicker to success bet, and it's I mean, why would you want to put your eggs in a basket of just a few huge big banks? No way, man. I'm gonna go after, you know, that company. One company is going to run on Currency Cloud. They're called TransSwap. They just said, we're going to get 10,000 SMEs before the end of 2020. That's one customer. So yeah, sorry. I'm ranting, but I just I think
good rants. I like that.
I'm with Ripple. Forget the banks right now, and then let them come in. They'll come in. They will come in, but you know, we just don't want to wait anymore.
No, when the banks know, they know it's there, and they're come knocking on their door, right? Come begging
on your knees, banks.
Can I talk about the SBI fund that has 50% XRP? I just wanted to make a statement about that, because this is a big deal that SBI, which has been making moves like nobody else is making moves in this space right now. Nobody. I mean, he is throwing big time money into the space. I think
master.
Yeah, I mean, he's putting his, you know, stake in the ground to say this is my territory, but he is all in, and he's going in on not just one segment of the ecosystem, but he's taking the whole piece of the pie. He's got a play in every single part of this ecosystem now. So the point that I want to say is that the fact that he is going to put 50% of XRP in that fund, and he's got his reputation at stake. And this is a reputation that is important to him. And he's going to have a silent partner. We don't know who that is. Could be somebody from overseas. Could be somebody who is on the fringes and wants to play, but doesn't necessarily want to be transparent. And there's no way he's going to lead people into a fund that is set up to fail. No way, guys. Right. No way.
That is gutsy, but it does tell you, when you look at the leadership and you look at some of the moves that he's made, like you said, all around the ecosystem, man, to me, I still think SBI, what Catal's been doing, to me, I see that is you want to look to something that's happening, and you look everywhere else in this company, but watch what's happening there, because SBI is absolutely in charge,
and
making the right moves.
He would be making these investments if he thought this was a shaky, high risk.
It's almost like he already knows, right, Eddie? It's almost
Absolutely.
like he knows,
Absolutely. The playbook is he already sees what it's going to be 2 years from now. At least in Asia, he sees it, he knows it. And there's no way he would take his company down. That he's a hands-on guy, and he's been building that company for 20 years. And he is at the end of his, he's towards the end of his career. And there's no way he is going to go out a loser. And there's no way he's going to bring in the 20 years of trusted network that he has within the financial world. He's not going to lead them into a fund that is going to fail. No. Or into a space that's going to fail.
So the next bull run, just real quick here. So the next bull run, like, we saw the last bull run. It was like, it ended up $3.80 some cents.
Yeah.
Do you think the next one will happen like gradually over a period of 1-2 months? Do you think it'll happen quick? And do you think it'll eclipse where we were last time? I mean, obviously, to be a bull run, it's supposed to pass the last high, but what do you kind of see? And we're not talking. We're just speculating, having a little bit of fun speculating. Yeah. How do you think it's going to happen, and what it might look like?
Well, if I remember what David said in the swell when Brad Kimes and his name is right now, when they were talking to him and they did a little bit of, and they talked about how quick it could move up. When the retail FOMO happens, and that always happens, that just is just the way it is. I mean, you can't get around that. I think if you didn't have retail FOMO, you would see a gradual, like this business. But when you've got, with just the investment money coming in from institutional investors and people who are wealthy enough to make an investment. But when you have this FOMO that occurs, then people who don't necessarily, they're not in the space, but they think they can make a quick buck, then the price goes like this.
Ooh.
So do I think it'll go over the last all-time high? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we have another bull run, because the size of, just because adoption has occurred and there is a lot more people in the space. But the whole thing is, when.
It is the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a big one.
When?
That's all forecast to win. I don't see it happening anytime in 2020.
No. I go back to those three guys on the panel, and they were all three of them were in lockstep that the price impact was going to come when the institutional investors who are actually managing those wealth funds come in. That was their opinion.
Yeah.
So and that's always a good place to look. I mean, even when you're looking at big funds to invest in, you want to see that beginning movement, and you can identify some of that movement, through different technical analysis, where you start seeing the migration of purchasing or sells on a specific stock, and you see the ramp up. And so this is something interesting to track, because this means that you can't nail down a time frame, but the when is when they do it. So that could be 6 months from now, that could be 5 years from now. But when they make that big movement, that's when you better be ready. So, and that's when you say, all hands on deck, because something's getting ready to happen. And so that's a really interesting statement, to really focus it on it from that perspective, on where to look, because you can start getting cues on, the ramp up. You're going to start seeing steady, like you said, we could begin to eclipse the all-time highs, even just from the FOMO aspect again, because you start getting a little bit of generated excitement, and a lot of that generated excitement, do you think that could end up coming from Bitcoin before you even start seeing some of the other movements elsewhere?
Well, I think that I'm thinking two things. Well, there's still a lot of people who were just killed, decimated with the last drop off from the all-time high. And there's a lot of people who got burned and are still underwater. And so they don't want to, they're like, I surrender. I don't want to get in this space again. That I got killed. So in order for new players to come in, they've got to be ones that are okay with the risk or totally brand new and never ever played in the last bull run. And then as far as the big investors are going to come in, do I think that'll probably happen? It'll probably drive Bitcoin up. But if Ripple IPOs, which I don't see them IPOing in this market because this is too unsure right now. This is a really high risk time because we don't know what's going to happen when the fall comes around in the northern hemisphere. We could really be up for another big, huge blow. So there's not probably going to be any IPO this year. I think they were planning on it. I really think they were planning on it, but I don't think it's going to happen now. But should the IPO happen, there'll be a huge awareness for XRP in the marketplace. And so that could create a very significant buy-in. So those are my two things, the investment money into BTC and the IPO for Ripple.
Yeah. What about the people that say I've heard this, oh no, XRP could never be $50, could never be 70, and don't even go crazy town thinking it could go as high as 100.
Well, it all depends on the size of the market. That's why I said if we get up to the size of gold, 7 trillion, if the market cap of crypto was the same size as the market cap of gold, well, there's a lot of unreal pricing that can actually happen. Yeah, it all depends on the price of the whole entire market.
That's interesting. The only thing Chip wants to know though is when moon. What he always
I'm not gonna lie, Jeff. I always like to know when moon. I'm one of those moon boys. Got moon boys and girls out there that were like, yeah, this is all good banter, and I really do appreciate it. But just when moon, please.
I think for those people who are feeling pretty disappointed or are not having fun, you got to have fun in this space. So if you're not having fun, go. There's a couple of other projects that let this bake. XRP is baking right now. It's still in the oven.
I can still smell it.
We put the toothpick. Put the toothpick in, and not yet. So let it bake, and then go have some fun in this space and find some other projects that you can enjoy. But to be totally focused on price for XRP right now is unfortunately just too narrow.
When it dipped again, did you guys buy?
I missed at the 11. Did you get in at the 11?
I didn't get it
11.
No,
I totally missed the whole thing. What was going on? I don't know.
No. This is a while back when it went.
A while back, I did.
That was
what happened. Yeah, then I did, but there was another little pullback.
Yeah, I'm talking about the little drop that happened the last couple of days. I mean, I was like, you know what? It's just so easy to buy.
What it hit?
Well, it was like 17. It hit 17
and
some change. Well, it is when I mean, your gains are if you're at 20 or 21 and you hit 17, you go back to 20. You're like, gains.
Cost averaging in is good on any project. If you really
it brings everything.
Yeah, if you believe in the long term, if you believe in it and you believe,
I believe.
So here's a question. So here's a question for you from one believer to the next. So do you believe do you believe in off ramps? So one of the things that we hear some of these YouTubers talking about is prepare your off ramps. So when XRP or any digital asset hits your sellout, you want to get out of it as fast as possible, and you want to have your off ramps and you want to make sure you can take out as much as possible at that point. So my question is, if you believe so sincerely in this project that this is the future, then why would you also then, promote an off ramp to ditch and put all your money back into a fiat currency. What are your thoughts on that thought process?
Well, I've already gotten out one time 100%, right? So, this is my second rodeo with XRP. I went out at $1.81. And do I feel bad I didn't wait till 3? No, because I got a double-digit gain. I'm really happy with what I did.
That's nice, yeah.
I'm not a moon girl, as I've told everyone before. I'm not one of those just waiting for that big 589. I'm really much more realistic. I'm not greedy, and I'll take a 10 or 15 or 20% gain. Heck yeah! I mean, you tell me where you can get that kind of double-digit gain right now in any marketplace, real estate, market, whatever. So I have multiple off ramps, and I suggest everyone should have more than one, because you might find your off ramp goes down because of everyone trying. They can't handle look at Coinbase, can't even handle. I hope they get it.
That's the worst off
ramp. So so the question though is, in that scenario, and if as we've seen the trajectory of these markets, and I look at, when I was trading stock, I always had my plan. So I always knew exactly what my buy-in was. Obviously, I knew exactly what my potential loss could be, and I knew exactly when I was getting out, more or less. If you kind of caught a nice up, then you kind of keep riding it up. But I would already have everything was mapped out. It was in a spreadsheet, and everything was already numerical. So it took all the emotion out of it. But
it was in a spreadsheet.
It was in a spreadsheet. But in this scenario, it's just like, and I've kind of changed my investment strategies a little bit to long-term, and I look at that long-term hold, where like, even with some of the tech stocks now, like a Twitter or Facebook or any of them, it's not, and I traded on those and I made money on those trading on them. But I look at, if you're in low, how long can you hold it, and is it going to be, valuable, 10, 15 years from now? I look at Microsoft as an example. I like using that as a good example, because in the early days, it was I think it was under $1, and then it ramped up, and it had its ups and downs. But then, after its nice ramp up back, in 2008 timeframe, when all the stock market, it crashed all the way back down again. But if you're along for that roller coaster ride the whole time, there are all sorts of buy and sells during that period of time where you can make money. But the long-term trajectory of it, it's now over $100.
Right.
So, but that's that long-term. If you're buying, dollar cost averaging all those dips from a long-term strategy, now, you've bought in and held Microsoft through splits and everything else, and you've doubled, and now your value of your portfolio is so much greater. But I'm trying to see, can you, using that as an example, can you do the same thing with the digital asset space now, where you have your buys and sells, but then you also have your long-term trajectory holds, where you say, you know what, I'm in this, and I'm going to keep dollar cost averaging it. At some point you want to start taking out some of your profits, but you're in it for 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know. I mean, it's a hard, I can't even, what are your thoughts?
I don't think so, just because this space is changing too quick. This is not really comparable to traditional stocks. So I would not think to stay in any of these projects 10, 15 years. That's just me, or 20. Because I think this is evolving so fast. I mean, there's just too much change going on in this space.
A lot of volatility.
Well, it's the changes. I mean, technology keeps evolving. A traditional business is all about, what kind of revenue, and are they controlling their costs, and what are their margins? What's the inventory position? What's the outlook of the market look like? I mean, that doesn't change. That's the same for every traditional stock. But we've got a whole different animal here in this technology. We don't know what the supercomputers are going to do. We don't know what AI is going to do. We can't see 10, 15, 20 years out. We can't see it. So no, I'm going to get out. I'm more a bird in the hand. Sorry. That's just, I'm going to take my profit.
Yeah.
And I'm older than you guys too, so I probably think a little bit differently also.
I don't think you're older than me, but I'm just saying. But I'm older. I'm an old soul. That's why I'm like, how much time do I have? You start seeing the runway get like less and less, and you're like, come on, get off the ground. It's like one of those old movies. You're like, get off the ground, start throwing stuff overboard. Like your runway's getting shorter and shorter. And that's what I look at with life. You're just like, man, you don't know. I mean, talk about not knowing. You're like, hey, man, I've got my my bags ready to go. I've got this, and then life happens, and then boom, throat punches you, and you're like, well, I didn't plan on that one thing, and
yeah,
like no one plans on what happened recently. It just happens,
right.
It happens. You got to roll the punches. I believe in diversification. So if you're
I
pulling
don't,
the
Jeff.
money
I
out,
live in XRP. So
I don't want to, take it out. You get your gains. Do you put it into fiat and let it sit? But no, you're going to reinvest it into something else.
Probably reinvest it in something else. I mean,
whatever that might be.
Yeah, we don't know, but there might be
ice cream.
Really great. Yeah, Haagen-Dazs.
Ben and Jerry's.
That's a really good investment.
Funky Monkey. Anyway,
especially those Kit Kats.
You know what, guys? Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Can I just like send you something and you can send me some? I want some of these exotic Kit Kats.
There's a whole new flavor out there. I had my last one. I hit 30,000 subscribers a couple of months back. I did a giveaway, and I just was able to ship to the UK to Craig Heaton. Craig, and you know him, right?
Yeah,
and I was just able to ship to him last Thursday because all of the shipping out of Japan, and I still cannot get a package to the United States.
Oh, wow.
You guys, yeah.
Wow.
Not Japan's problem, it's the U.S. No package.
So you're saying no? As you say, that's not in the realm of possibility then?
Oh, yeah, but
not now.
But I can't get any packages to you right now. Yeah,
it's an individual. Yeah. From a corporate perspective, we can get product, but from an individual perspective, you can't ship it. That's interesting.
Airmail.
Right.
There's no planes.
That's right. They're not flying.
Oh, right. Well, unless you're sending a FedEx or UPS.
Which is going to be mega expensive. Hell no, Jeff.
But it could be worth it.
Well, I might have to do. I might have to
every last $100 that you.
I might have to pony up for that.
It would definitely be worthwhile.
Flat mail.
Well, you know what I'm going to do.
Or letters are okay, but no packages.
Jeff has that in a box and send it FedEx.
Jeff has that lemon tree. See right over my shoulder, right there.
I'll trade you a lemon for a Kit Kat.
I got some books over there. I got some books on the floor back there. Where are we? Right over there. I put some like stacks of Kit Kat boxes back there, just so Jeff will get envious and be like, I might want some of those Kit Kats. I want one of those weird flavors, like
there's
green tea.
There's so many new. Every time I go to the market, I think, oh, it makes me feel sad because I want to make that one available.
You should go to our market and you'd be even sadder. There's like 3 kinds. There's like chocolate. There's milk chocolate, there's dark chocolate, and I think there's vanilla, and that's
really? I thought there was only one kind. I didn't.
No, they actually have a dark chocolate version of a Kit Kat.
I have no idea, but that's interesting.
I love Kit Kats, man. That was like my favorite. That and what was your favorite candy bar growing up? Did you have one?
Milky Way.
Oh, Milky Way?
Absolutely, still is.
Now mine was Coffee Crisp, and it still is one of the top. I don't know if you know that. That's a Canadian, because I grew up so close to the Canadian border. That is one of the most amazing, and they sell them down here, Jeff. By the way, I gotta tell you, it's one of the most amazing candy bars you could ever have, and I go props to the Canadians because they're amazing humans.
The Canadians could do some interesting chocolates. They have that Arrow.
Oh, the Arrow's good. Well, that's a UK, isn't it? I thought that's. Arrow's good too. Bounty is another one.
What's that good Cadbury chocolate over in the UK is phenomenal. Not
so
the same
Almond Joy, Mounds, Kit Kats.
Mounds and the mint ones. What
are the mint
Mentos? No,
the mint,
Mentos.
the round mint with a chocolate with a mint
the
inside.
Fresh Maker.
Yeah. Oh my god.
The ones you got at the movie, they're always in a big box. You got them at the movie theater.
Oh, that was the best. Yeah.
It was.
The peppermint patties.
Oh.
Starburst.
Starburst are awesome.
Starburst.
Do you like those sour ones, like the Sour Patch Kids? Those are nasty. Like, it's like so, and then you're like, I'll have another one.
I never
Get
liked
that weird.
all that.
I don't know. I still like going to the movie theater and like seeing those. It's just
Milk duds.
all the milk
Milk
duds.
duds.
Wow, I forgot about milk duds. Those were creepy, weird things. They were kind of, if they sat too long, they got real hard on the outside. You're like, you could bust a tooth.
No, if you go way back, how about Twinkies? And I heard they brought Twinkies.
No, we have, dude, we have them. They're in our pantry right now.
You have Twinkies in your pantry?
Yeah, Twinkies and Hostess
My
cupcakes.
16-year-old.
And the Hostess cupcakes. Oh my God.
That
There
was
was something about the Twinkie. It was like the best thing. I wasn't allowed to get them as a kid. So whenever I went to a friend's house, then I'd get
Jeff,
one.
the
When I
packaging.
was younger, I was deprived.
The Twinkie is exactly the same. The packaging's the same. Whoever revived it took all the same stuff. Now,
and
I don't.
someone in Mexico took it over, right?
I'm not exactly sure, but I'm afraid to like even look at like open it and eat it because
Well,
remember
milk-
those pies?
It's
Remember
probably an original.
the fruit-filled pies? What were that? That was also a Hostess thing, wasn't it?
Oh my God,
was
those
like-
were good.
It was like a half a pie, and it was like they were. I don't know. They had like apple pies and.
Pop-Tarts.
Oh, I love Pop-Tarts. We have a lot of
Pop-Tarts,
Pop-Tarts in our house too.
Oh yeah, Pop-Tarts. Oh man, you got
By the
all
way,
this
we have
stuff.
thousands of flavors of Pop-Tarts, but only 2 Kit Kats.
But did you eat the orange Kraft macaroni and cheese?
Oh, that was a staple growing up in our house. The staple. And by the way, in Canada they call that Kraft dinner. By the way, if you didn't know that, because I had a Canadian roommate and he used to call it, "Hey, what do you want? Do you want to get Kraft dinner?" I was like, "Kraft dinner?" He's like, "Yeah, macaroni." That was Kraft macaroni and cheese. They just called it Kraft dinner.
Well, with the Swanson's pot pies.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, the Swanson's TV dinners from way
Too.
back.
Oh yeah, the TV dinners. I remember those.
Nasty.
And the tinfoil legend with the apple pie was
You'd
so
hope
hot,
you
it
take
burn your tongue.
It was terrible. Yeah, there was always an apple pie in there. That's right.
But the thing is, like sometimes when you like would bake something, like that bakes in about 30 seconds, and then it turns into like molten lava.
Right.
And meanwhile, the meat's still a little bit cold, but
Still
then you're
frozen
like,
in the middle.
let me try the apple pie, and you couldn't taste the rest of it. Brilliant.
Oh my God, that was
Never
fun.
cooked at the same time. Yeah.
I was like, though, it's like, oh no, it's like, hey man, we weren't that forward thinking. We didn't think about it. Be like, hey, your dessert's separate, and only please bake that for 30 seconds.
Yeah, and you put it all in the same
in
tray.
the tins. You know what I mean? Oh gosh, guys, we're coming up on 90.
I'm like 3 hours. I
minutes.
think we're in 3 hours.
We're
already.
we're coming up on the 4th hour here.
This is DNI territory. I don't feel too comfortable breaking into this.
No, I don't know if
I don't
we
want
should.
to take on his world record.
No,
What
that's
What is his world record? Do you know?
6 hours and 27 minutes.
I don't know. I just know I went to bed one night and I woke up and he was still streaming. He was
Still on.
The best one was his
oh,
wedding
Chip,
though. When he,
he's still going.
yeah, I was like, you didn't start a new one? Nope.
That's funny. Yeah, he
Well,
was,
it
one of
was-
he was the first XRP community member I bought goods from. I usually haven't seen. I bought like $100 worth of XRP stickers.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
I still have about maybe.
The shirts are cool. I think he does put some
10 of
really one of the
them left.
best.
These
best
are
shirts
actually
out there.
made from the XRP community member.
Oh,
Oh, no
interesting.
kidding.
Yep. She from the UK. She makes
Well, I will make a deal with you. If you
Okay.
send some Kit Kats my way, I will send you some handcrafted soaps from my wife's company.
no, I want Cheez-Its. Sorry.
Oh,
I know.
I'll get you Cheez-Its.
I should be really. Thank you so
Oh, yeah,
much.
what kind of things would you like? Yeah.
Cheez-Its. I can't get Cheez-Its here. Yeah,
man.
and they have the baked Cheez-Its now.
Would it be weird if I go get Cheez-Its and start eating them now? Would that be awkward? I got Twinkies. I don't know if I can pull Cheez-Its off.
Chip, do you have that? Do you have that? What was that cheese? The Cheese Whiz.
Oh, that was the best ever.
You do it right in the mouth.
Oh, put it up your nose. I don't think there's any cheese in it. That was the best part of it.
There
I
was
think it
zero
stuck all-
cheese. There was no dairy in it. It was a non-dairy cheese.
Plastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you put it into a spray can, there's no cheese in there.
But remember the whipped
But it
cream
was
that
the
came in
best.
that thing?
Oh my God. Oh, that whipped cream was the
You know?
best. That was by far the best thing they ever made. Between that and Cool Whip.
Cool.
Oh,
Whip.
Cool Whip.
You open up that thing in the freezer.
Well, you know,
It never froze. You're like, how in the world? Why is it not freezing? It's in the freezer.
well, see, in our house
Keeps
we
it
had
cold.
in our house, like for some reason, I was brought up on Miracle Whip. Like for some, it was like an anti-mayo. Like you couldn't have Hellman's mayonnaise.
Same. I couldn't stand it. I
It was
insisted.
the weird. What is it? It's the weirdest stuff ever.
Miracle Whip. I don't know.
I do like it in a macaroni salad.
And
though.
mayonnaise.
Like
Mayonnaise is vinegar and eggs and a little bit of oil, and that's it. Right? A little lemon juice.
And none of those ingredients are in Miracle Whip, by the way.
None of them. No, there's about 1,000 ingredients on the Miracle Whip.
And by the way, my wife is
based.
She's vegan, and we have this one that's called Just Mayo, or it's man, it tastes.
No,
right?
how about you got to
made
go
of
for
soy.
the
It's
you got to go for
phenomenal.
Vegenaise.
No, man, I didn't like that. That creeped me out.
Vegenaise is great. It's made from grapeseed oil.
I didn't like it. I'm sorry, I can't go with
Oh,
it,
man,
man.
it's
I
awesome.
thought it was. It's not as good as Just Mayo, man.
I hate mayonnaise.
Let's have a duel right now. Let's duel it
Unless
out.
it's in tuna fish. Other than that, mayonnaise doesn't go anywhere else.
Really? Oh,
It
Japanese
does in this house.
mayo on top of their pizza here.
Well, that's weird. And the people
It
are
is
giving me
weird,
crap for
but-
pineapple.
but it's
Remind
good.
me not to get pizza in Japan.
But it tastes good. It really does taste
Mayonnaise
good.
on pizza.
How does that
Yeah.
work? That's the creepiest, weirdest thing I've ever heard yet.
It's good.
And people
Yeah,
like
the
give me so
mayo.
much.
Do you put it after the fact, or is it cooked with it?
I can just see you spreading a little thin layer.
It's put on as kind of a top condiment. Yeah.
Maybe
I
it's a
don't know.
different
Mayonnaise is better cold. Does it get warm, like hot? I'm just saying, like, mayonnaise. Like, if it's the pizza's warm and then, like, you put warm mayo, just seems. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, it's good. There's a okonomiyaki too that is like a cabbage with a brown sauce, and then it's got tons of mayo on top, and it's warm, and it's yummy.
I do like the spicy mayo on sushi.
spicy.
Though. I
Oh
do
yeah,
like
that's
spicy
it.
mayo.
That's a good
Spicy
mayo.
mayo is
though.
awesome. Or
Yeah.
That's a good mayo.
Or yum yum sauce, they call it, as well. Which is like spicy mayo. That's what they call it here, the yum yum sauce. Because
I don't know.
so my daughter comes home and she's like, she always goes to a sushi place. She's like, oh, I had to get some extra yum yum sauce, and I find out it's just really so some sushi places started calling it yum yum when it's just spicy mayo.
Huh.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Nice.
yeah. But
They're,
see,
they're eating pizza with honey here too.
now that sounds awesome to me.
Have you done that ever?
I haven't, but I think I want to try it. That sounds amazing to me. I love honey.
And
I love bees too.
gorgonzola. It's always on like a gorgonzola pizza with honey. It's
Well, I could see that with gorgonzola cheese.
God, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing. Maybe apples, honey and apples on
Honey on
pizza.
it? Oh man,
umami
be
taste.
good.
You've got the two tastes together, and they create some explosion in your mouth.
Yeah, when I grew up in Western New York, we had a place that made, and I gotta tell you, I thought it was the weirdest thing. But they go, "Hey, we came out with this new taco. It's apples and cheese in a taco," and you're like, "That tastes weird." My God, hot apples with cheese is like the greatest thing ever. I don't know, it's one of the greatest things ever, man. If you ever get a chance to try it,
cold
apples-
apple and cheese is good.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
have to
I
try
mean,
this. Eat an apple with cheese.
Jeff, you try the mayo with the pizza and let me know if that's any good.
I'm gonna have to.
Corn and mayo. Corn.
Yeah, my wife makes a lot. She uses mayo on a lot of different
I can
things.
almost see that. If you do like a slaw, like a little bit of a chutney,
Slaw.
something.
All right, that's it. We're gonna end this.
Okay.
We gotta do it.
No,
We gotta
think
go out on a
about
high
this.
note here.
Oh my god, I'm thinking about this. So there was this one of the on Mr. Beast. Did you see he was eating a $70,000 pizza?
No.
No. How do you eat a $70,000 pizza?
No, they had this. You got to look it up and check them out. But they went to all these different restaurants. They drank a $250 milkshake, and they just like ate all these $2,000 steaks and everything. Then they went to a place and they had a $70,000 pizza. Part of it's the gold leaf, but then they have all the different toppings that they put on that just kind of inflated the cost a little bit.
That's
It was a
weird.
$70,000 pizza.
Truffles and really anchovy and maybe caviar and things like that.
Exactly. Yep. There you go. All that stuff went on it. And I said, what happened to the good old cheese pizza that you get for?
Just pepperoni.
Whatever.
Yeah, I love cheese pizza, man. It's really my favorite. They go, "You want any toppings?" I'm like, "No." They go, "Do you want something on there?" It's 3. I'm like, I just want cheese. And they're like, "You sure you don't want a top?" I'm like, I would have told you I wanted a topping, but I said I wanted cheese pizza. Okay, well, we have toppings too.
And it's not just, it has to be New York style thin crust. Otherwise, forget about all this wannabe New York style pizza that's like
Sorry,
too big.
those don't exist. They all burned to the ground. Sorry, Jeff. No more pizza no more pizza going to the city anymore. Oh, that's what I would do. Every time I'd go there, I'd go on these
oh my God,
foraging for the best piece of pie.
Oh,
man.
you get a
Awesome.
slice. You get the slice. Oh my God, that was the best.
Yeah, it was great, man.
Yeah,
That's why we get every single pizza place around here.
Or New York style.
All the New York style, either that or the coal fire. You get the New York style.
Chicago deep dish is popular in Japan.
Really?
The Chicago deep dish. Yeah, they like it. I don't know why.
Too much bread.
It's very bready.
Bready.
Yeah.
It's bready.
It's bready.
The only kind of bread I like is when it's fiat currency bread. You know, it's like, remember back in the 70s, be like, give me some bread. You know, it's like, okay, here you go. No, I'm talking about some cash, man. Lingo's come a long way, hasn't it? All right, that's it. We're gonna get out of here. I swear to God. By the way, thank you for helping us set the record on the roundtable, because this is a first, and
Well, maybe I did a little too much rant. Sorry.
No, that was awesome.
Right.
I think the rants were the best part.
Spent a lot of time talking about mayonnaise.
They're way better than my rants. My rants turned a little bit weird and angry, so it's good.
I think everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, it was great having you here as always, and you know, it's yeah, I mean, right? I mean, anything you want to play us out with? Another rant?
No, I just kind of wonder, after you do one of these, you always kind of wonder, wow, I wonder what people think, because, you know, this is so unlike my videos, which is more to the point, scripted and researched. And then when you get into a hot seat where you're just able to just talk how you want to go, I just wonder, oh gosh, I wonder what people probably, you know, think. Oh my gosh, you know, that's not the Eddie I thought she was.
She's eating mayonnaise on her pizza.
Yeah.
Now they're gonna really worry about that. All right. Well,
No,
Jeff,
I think everyone needs to just hang in there. This is a good space, and if you're not having fun, then get out, because you should have.
Get out.
You should be able to have some fun.
There you go. Don't stress.
That's right. Sounds like good advice. I think we should leave on that note, right, Jeff?
That's a great note. I love it. But I want to give a big shout out to everybody that hung in there with us for an hour and 36 minutes.
Nice.
That's a record for the roundtable. Appreciate all of our subscribers, all of our viewers, and everyone that came on with us on this 4th of July weekend from all over the world. Not 4th of July everywhere, but here in the U.S. So with that, Chip, you want to take us out? Or are we out of here?
I think we are out of here. Thank you very much, everybody. Have yourselves an amazing, positive week. And like your Crypto Eddie just said, you're not having fun, get out. I mean, she didn't say it like that.
Get out of here. Get out.
Get out.
Get out of here.
You know what I mean? So, all right, we're out of here. Chip out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.